a big moment for both teams, right? We're going to find out some things about both these teams, and it wound up, J-Mac, being Justin Herbert's show.
Oh, my goodness. Is he not good, Harry Douglas? Wouldn't you want to have a quarterback like that throwing you the rock?
Sure would.
Matt Ryan not taking any offense to that. First play, second quarter, we got Herbert. Look at him taking off and running. Herbert, 7 carries, 62 yards. Chargers in the red zone, and they would run it. Bart, they can do everything, this team. Obviously, Herbert can throw it, and they are rushing the ball down your throat.
You know, you talk about Joe Alt being back was a huge addition, not only in protection, but in the run game.
Chargers take a 14-0 lead. 4 minutes to go in the half. Vikings down 14-3, and we've got trouble. Carson Wentz popped up in the air, knocks it down, and he's hurt. You see, he's in all kinds of pain. He's been playing hurt. Obviously, they're without J.J. McCarthy. The Vikings are a mess in just about every way you can be. A final minute of the first half, and here's where they put it away, Peter. Ladd McConkey in the corner.
McConkey's so good. You mentioned Joe Alt. Everyone being back there is huge for them, and now that Herbert has a second to breathe, he can throw the passes you expect him to throw.
Pitch and catch to McConkey there. They've got the big lead at halftime. Fourth quarter, Chargers up 24-10. It's Herbert again buying time. It's Trey Harris this time. Herbert's third passing touchdown of the night. Chargers extend the lead 31-10. Look at him moving in the pocket, J-Mac.
He used his legs all night long. And look, Joe Alt is back. Everybody's just happy.
Critical part of the team. I mean, Jim Harbaugh says that those guys are weapons, and that they are. Here's Wentz looking for Justin Jefferson, and not well. That one is picked off. Charger defense, 5 sacks, 8 quarterback hits, and that pick. Chargers go on to win big, 37-10, and the locker room was lit.
Well done, well done. Give each other a high five. I got one question for you. Who could possibly have it better than us? Nobody!
It's just frustrating, just going out there and performing the way we've been performing and not putting up points and not, hitting stops. That's all a team effort, and we're just not doing enough.
Rough little 5 days for the Vikings. They had their shot against the defending champs on Sunday, then travel, as Joe will talk about, for a tough game on a Thursday night and lose. What was your number one takeaway, or maybe 1 and 2 takeaways from last night?
Football guys, please just protect Justin Herbert, because he is amazing when he has some time in that pocket. He was awesome last night of making things happen when he had to. On the other side of the ball, question marks about who the quarterback is. J.J. McCarthy. We saw last night from Carson Wentz. He was out there playing with one shoulder. I might have at some point said, hey, y'all go ahead and come get me. I'm going to go watch this game on the sideline. But J.J. McCarthy, he has to be the guy for them. There are no questions about that moving forward.
Yeah, the question on the screen there, what questions were answered? There were 2. It was about Herbert, and he's great. It was about the Vikings, and they're in trouble. And, Peter, I'm going to give you credit. Going back to the beginning of the season, you were talking about all the pressure on McCarthy and on Kevin O'Connell for the decision they made to let Sam Darnold walk away in the offseason and Daniel Jones and turn it over to the rookie. Now he's hurt, and now they look like something of a mess.
And general manager Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, this is such a decision. They didn't expect Sam Darnold to play last year. It was supposed to be J.J. McCarthy, and Darnold was almost supposed to play the Carson Wentz role as just a veteran backup. He goes 14-3. They don't franchise tag him. They don't sign him to an extension. They let him walk. And then, oh, by the way, at the trade deadline, they got Daniel Jones last year, too. Oh, and I'll throw another one in. Aaron Rodgers might have been very interested in this role, too, for a 1-year deal as J.J. McCarthy was there. They said, screw it, we're going with Sam Howell. Well, then they trade Sam Howell, and they bring in Carson Wentz. Look, if you watched Wentz under duress last night, you know why they didn't play McCarthy. That offensive line was atrocious. They couldn't block anything. It's almost like they've been putting him in bubble wrap and just waiting to get him fully healthy. That said, you don't want the season to slip away. So much pressure on J.J. McCarthy right now. He hasn't even taken snaps, and already he's expected to match Drake May, but also be better than Darnold and Daniel Jones, which is almost an impossible mountain to climb.
Vikings feel like they're in some trouble here. The division is really good. The Packers have the big game Sunday night, but they're obviously good. The Lions are great. The Bears seem to be on the come-up. Vikings in some trouble here?
Yeah, they are. Last night was a must-win, in my opinion, for the Vikings. Before last night, every team in that division was either 500 or better. The team that was 500 was the Minnesota Vikings. When you look at the Bears, you look at the Lions, you look at the Packers, and where everyone else is in that division, you say to yourself, man, we thought the Vikings were going to be a better football team. But I will say this, when it comes to the quarterback position, I agree with you, J-Mac. This is J.J. McCarthy's team, and I don't think we have enough of a sample size to decipher if it was a, bad move by the ownership and also the general manager and Kevin O'Connell. J.J. McCarthy's only played 2 games, y'all.
Right.
He's only played 2 games. He's
in 2 years, though.
That's the problem.
But let me say this, though. The bigger problem, in my opinion, for Minnesota is that damn offensive line. When you have the left tackle, right tackle, center, everyone hurt, you look at last week versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Carson Wentz was running for his life. They didn't get home to have 5 sacks, but last night, guess who did?
They got home.
The Los Angeles Chargers. And that offensive line was the biggest glaring thing that I feel like they need to fix right now.
Well, Carson Wentz out there looking like Winter Soldier when you look at his left arm. You look at all the bandages and all the braces that he has on. But we knew that this was something that was going to be an issue. We thought that this was a Super Bowl caliber roster. They went out and they put the money to push all their chips into the middle when they brought in Hargrave, Allen, Kelly, and Freeze. We thought they were pushing all their chips to the middle, and for them not to make sure that they had a good quarterback or a good backup is malpractice, in my opinion, knowing that you're going to push all your chips. That's a lot to put on anybody, let alone a rookie. So I think they're wasting away Jordan Jefferson in his prime because Justin, I'm sorry, and Addison's going to be up for free agency in a minute. He's going to be somebody that people want to get. This window was open for them, and they closed it themselves by putting all their faith in a rookie
But to your point, though, they didn't expect this offensive line to be this atrocious.
Right.
Like, remember, they made some acquisitions this offseason. We thought this offensive line was going to be a top 5 unit in the NFL coming into the season, but guys have gotten hurt.
But you need
and it's been different.
But you need a quarterback that when people go down, they can hold the ship up. You can't put that on a rookie quarterback. Basically, is what he is. We don't know what he is because he hasn't been able to be healthy, been able to be available. So coming off an injury, they should have made sure they had some insurance and make sure they had a backup plan in case he wasn't healthy or wasn't ready.
On the flip side of this, Ronnie, can we put up A24, please, as I turn to Joe? The LA Chargers with a statement win. When healthy, they've been very good. They've been banged up, but look at their next 4 games. Look at the percent chance that they win those. Even 55 is a big number, by the way these analytics work. 75 is a ridiculous number. So what does this tell us, Joe Fortenbaugh, about these LA Chargers right now?
Keep in mind, you get the bye in between the Jaguars and the Raiders, which you guys played. You understand a bye in the middle of the season is probably the best time to get it. You don't want it early. You don't want it late when the season may be lost. This is the team to buy. For weeks, everyone's been talking about who's going to emerge in the AFC, who's going to challenge the Chiefs. Are the Chiefs going to challenge them? That sounds crazy, but they're already 3-0 in the division.
And they beat
They're
the Chiefs.
5-3. They got a chance to go on a run here, which isn't that far-fetched to say they could be 9-3 after that Raider game. Quarterback's playing at a high level, 30-1 to win MVP. His quarterback rating is better than Baker Mayfield's, better than Matthew Stafford's.
Yeah.
We gush over them repeatedly. This team, what's their flaw? Is it because they're bad when they lose, or is it because they're injured? Those are 2 very different things.
Right.
So if you're looking to bet on somebody right now, the Chargers are the team to buy on.
They haven't lost with Joe Alt in the lineup. They were 3-0. He went down. That is such a big piece. When you get that guy back on the field and you can actually give Herbert time to breathe, they are a force to be reckoned with.
And Khalil Mack is back, and that solidified the edges of their defense. And I think if they make one of those trades, they need to make a trade for a guy like Breece Hall to keep him away from Kansas City as well, but also improve their team. A guy on an expiring contract would take Justin Herbert to the next level.
Breece Hall would be a difference maker somewhere, wherever it is that he winds up going. We will see. Okay, so that's where it begins. But the football Chargers, an impressive win last night as we opened the show discussing. They have a 10% chance to make the Super Bowl according to our analytics. 4th highest in the AFC, trailing the Chiefs, the Colts, and the Bills. Will have much more football as we continue here this morning. But we were here in these seats yesterday with you when the news broke that a current NBA player and a current NBA head coach had been arrested as part of the FBI's investigation into illegal sports betting and rigged poker games. Chauncey Billups, who was head coach of the Portland Trailblazers, and Terry Rozier, an active player for the Miami Heat, were among 34 people arrested. The NBA has placed both of them on leave. Billups was released from custody late yesterday. He's accused of being the face of a poker scheme backed by organized crime that defrauded victims of more than $7 million. Rozier has been accused of informing a bettor he would pull himself from a game in March of 2023 with an injury. That information was then allegedly used to wager on Rozier's unders. This obviously received enormous attention everywhere yesterday. The NBA released this statement. We are in the process of reviewing the federal indictments announced today. Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups are placed on immediate leave from their teams. We will continue to cooperate with the relevant authorities. We take these allegations with the utmost seriousness, and the integrity of our game remains our top priority. We have complete coverage. Tim Bontemps was at the FBI press conference yesterday, and Brian Windhorst, of course, our NBA insider extraordinaire, working the phones all day and talking to everyone. Wendy, I will start with you. We've just gone through the facts as we know them. I think most people spent much of the day yesterday reading everything they could and finding out about it. What are the most important things fans should know and be thinking about as they wake up this morning?
Yes, obviously, when you hear the words rigged poker games, mafia, and X-ray glasses and things, that it's incredible, jaw-dropping. But I think what NBA fans have to realize is that there's two cases here. There's the poker case and there's the NBA case, and they're separate. They are separate. They are linked by a few individuals who are charged in both, but the poker thing is fascinating. Will probably be made into a movie someday. The NBA thing is something that is completely different. There are two charges being leveled in people with the NBA. One is the leaking of inside information about which players may be able to play in games. That is what Chauncey Billups is accused of, that the NBA is concerned about. The NBA is obviously worried about Chauncey being involved in illegal poker games and potentially other people being involved in that. But what the NBA is dealing with is the fact that Chauncey is accused by the feds of telling bettors that certain players were not going to play in a game before it was public information. In fact, a number of people were accused of that. In the case of Terry Rozier, he is accused of something that the NBA has already investigated. This was not breaking news to the league. They knew that Rozier had been investigated 2 years ago for coming out of a game 9 minutes in, and the sports books flagging that day, Greeny, the sports books flagged unusual betting on his unders. What the reaction in the league has been is, number one, shock at Chauncey Billups being involved in this. Chauncey Billups is one of the most respected and liked players in the league, coaches in the league. He is a Hall of Famer. And then the question is, what happened with the NBA's investigation into Terry Rozier? Why did the NBA do an investigation into Terry Rozier and then allow him to keep playing when the feds obviously have indicted him? And I talked to the league office about this at length, and the answer, unfortunately, is not very complicated. The NBA office is not the federal government. They did an investigation, but they do not have the power to wiretap. They do not have the power to get all the phone records. They do not have the power to get witnesses to roll over on one another. They just were not able to corroborate the charges. And I've seen things go around about conspiracy theory about how Rozier was held out of games because the NBA was doing stuff. Unfortunately, it's just that the NBA ain't the feds. And that is definitely something to worry about and be concerned about. Is gambling is more a part of our lives. But that, unfortunately, is the simple and direct answer.
Tim, again, you were there for the FBI's press conference. Fill in whatever holes are missing here. What else do the fans know?
Yeah, so as Brian just laid out there's two parts to this story, right? On the one hand, you have the proliferation of inside information and guys knowing what's going on with the team before the public does and being able to give that to bettors to get an advantage. The other thing is a guy, obviously, what's indicted with, or what the implications are for Terry Rozier, being a player who's able to manipulate their own situation and, be able to bet the unders, right? If you know a guy's going to be out after 9 or 10 minutes, you can bet the under, you can make a profit on that. So, to me, the two questions going forward for the NBA in terms of an on-court reaction to this. One is there going to be more stringent requirements for teams to announce what's going on with players? I was at Madison Square Garden on Wednesday night for Cavs-Knicks. This is not an implication of anything, obviously, but Karl Anthony Towns, one of the best players on the Knicks, his status is changing throughout the day. He goes from questionable to doubtful to questionable up until half an hour before the game. Nobody has any idea if he's going to play. Does the NBA need to change that? Do they need to have that decision be made hours earlier so then everybody knows, okay, this guy's going to play, and then there's no ambiguity there? The other thing is, when you look at the way the Adam Silver earlier this week talked about prop betting and something that is a concern that he has in terms of being able to try to regulate that more. Will there be more of a push by the NBA to limit the ability for prop betting to happen? The other gambling thing that's been happening in the NBA the last couple of years, the other story involved with this is the Jonte Porter story from a year or two ago. Right. He was banned for life. That also involved prop betting, right? So these are the two things that the NBA has to wrestle with going forward. And those, to me, going forward in terms of what's the impact for fans, those are the two stories here in terms of how we got here, how these indictments happened, and is there a way for the NBA to prevent something like this from happening again in the future?
Where do they go from here, Wendy? Where does it go next?
Yeah, so the NBA is going to have to definitely re-examine its policies, because here's the thing, Greeny, there's this soft target that has existed, frankly, for decades. A team decides a player is going to be available or not. And oftentimes that happens in the morning at shoot-around. Today, there's like 10 or 12 NBA games. There'll be 10 or 12 or 24 teams having shoot-around. They're going to decide on players' availability in many cases today. But then they don't necessarily update the injury report. They're supposed to, and the NBA knows about this soft target. And as sports gambling has become, more proliferated, they have changed their reporting rules and forced teams into reporting more accurately and more quickly. And they find teams that haven't. But teams still, because of strategy reasons, don't want their opposition to know. So they'll say game time decision. And sometimes, Greeny, it is a game time decision. Sometimes a star player goes out there an hour and a half before the game and warms up and says, okay, my calf can go, my wrist can go. But sometimes everybody knows in the morning the player's not playing, and they say game time decision because they don't want the other team to know. That has been true for decades. And for decades, a select group of people would have this inside information. Whether they did something or not, I don't know. But now, where you can bet on your phone in almost every state, or you can tell people very easily what this has become more of a problem. So that's what's here. It's not just Chauncey Billups. Former NBA player and coach Damon Jones was accused of the exact same thing. In that case, it was about the availability of LeBron James for a couple of games. There's even an unnamed Orlando Magic player that was accused of doing the same thing. The bulk of this indictment is not about unders betting. And in fact, the unders accusations have already been known by the league and even in some cases been adjudicated. Jonte Porter pled guilty to the stuff in this indictment over a year ago. The thing that's in this indictment that is way more important to the NBA than some poker mystery that'll be great on a movie of the week is that there's this gap in their public knowledge of injuries. That is really the thing that the NBA has to grapple with. It is not something that is going to shake the league to its core. It is something that they've known about for a long time. They've adjusted, and they're going to have to tighten more.
Just to clean up one thing Brian said really quick, you said there was an unnamed Orlando Magic player that was handing out information. There was a conspirator who reached out to somebody they knew on the Magic and asked if people were going to play, just to make sure we have.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's complicated and a lot of the wording is very specific, but I think that the general thrust of it here is pretty clear. It's outstanding work by both of you. Wendy, we'll check in with you as the day continues. Again, as there are further twists and turns in this story, we will follow it for you here. In the meantime, we will get back to the usual business.